A very warm welcome to our series, The Universe of SAP BTP Use Cases. I'm Tania from the Global User Groups organization.
And welcome everyone. My name is Toros Aledjian. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm part of the SAP BTP Customer Success Program Office. I'm glad to be here.
I will now provide a quick overview, first of all, of the entire series. I am now sharing. And here we go to the overview. So today is our 5th episode of the series. We already had one on unlocking the horizons, how to use SAP BTP to get onto the path for transformation excellence with a focus on the Discovery Center. Then we had a deep dive into the SAP App House and Network, followed by a use case from Pitbull, their transformation journey with SAP Built Apps. Then digital procurement transformation with SAP BTP. And today, I'm really honored to have Cisco GB and Bluestonex with us that will show you how they revolutionized the manual processes with SAP BTP. And then we have 2 further coming next week, same time, same day. And the end of January, the last one. And with this, I would like to hand over to my colleague Toros to share the upcoming sessions.
Okay, thanks so much, Tania. So welcome everyone. We're really happy to bring you a couple of final webinars that we've got planned to cap off the year on December the 7th. We have actually 2 webinars at 2 different times. On December the 7th, we'll have our 6th and final episode of our industries webinar series, BTP for Professional Services, Accelerate Your Transformation with BTP. And then Tania will be hosting on December the 7th, Hitchhiker's Guide to SAP Fiori UX and its technologies. It's a 2-hour full of tips and tricks, and this again will be a YouTube live stream as well. We are currently planning our 2024 sessions. So if you've got any ideas, please do send us emails on topics that you'd like us to cover and bring to you in 2024. I'd like to introduce our speakers, Mr. Ricky Sercombe, Cisco GB technical lead, Richard Henry from Bluestonex, BTP sales director, and Vikash Kumar, he will be answering questions from Bluestonex, BTP. He's a BTP architect. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Richard.
Thank you, Toros. I just share my screen. Hopefully that should be sharing just now.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. No, thank you very much, everybody that's joined us on the stream. As the introduction there, we're looking at BTP user experience and business process automation, specifically looking at how Cisco managed to look at their manual processes and improve them and automate them through the power of BTP. So the agenda for today, so we'll do a bit of an intro. We'll cover off what Bluestonex have in the way of kind of our products and our Maestro solution, a little bit about Breaks, and then into the story of Breaks, a Cisco company, and how they have utilized BTP with Bluestonex. And then a chance to review the actual solution, and then lessons learned and questions. So Ricky, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. My name is Ricky Sercombe. I'm a technical lead, and I was a technical lead on the project for Cisco GB to deliver functional benefit using SAP BTP, working with Bluestonex.
Thank you. And Vic?
Hi everyone, I'm Vikash. I work as SAP BTP architect with Bluestonex. I've been working with Bluestonex for the last 7 years. In total, I have 14 years of experience working on different UI technologies in the SAP ecosystem. Thank you.
And as you're aware, I'm Richard Henry, BTP Sales Director at Bluestonex. And I help our customers understand how BTP can hopefully solve some of their problem areas or optimize their processes within their business. So I'll briefly cover off a little bit about Bluestonex. Bluestonex, we have been up and running since 2012, so just over a decade there. And our niche is on user experience, and we utilize SAP's BTP platform as the technology for many of our solutions. We're an SAP Gold partner. We're certified with CC Flex across EMEA North. And we are also proudly a part of the App House network. App House network, for those that don't know, is an innovation network of now 19 companies across the world, where we have innovation labs and usability labs to work with customers and SAP to be creative. We utilize BTP specifically to solve those problems, but we focus on human-centered design. Human-based thinking and human-centered design to work through solutions that deliver value there. We have innovation labs in the UK and in India that are free for SAP and their customers to come and utilize. And we use some of the tools like Lego Serious Play to really get value out of some of those sessions. And just a final note that our business technology, we recently became expert certified within the UK with that as well. Some of the customers that we worked with, so Brakes, very clearly there in the center. We've done a significant amount of work with them, but also some household brands there that hopefully some of you will recognize. Many of these we provide BTP services through a partner managed cloud. And we also provide applications that are available for sale on the SAP store, as well as custom applications that we've developed in conjunction with the companies to deliver a unique value to them. As I say, some of the products that we've developed have become mainstream products that we then make available on the SAP store. These are just some of the products that we dedicate as our flagship products. Maestro, which you'll be hearing about today, is a master data and governance tool. BTP Technology Experience Suite there, that's a customer onboarding portal, very much used. And then we also have our BTP Monitor there as well, which recognizes cost and consumption data, as well as the management of users within BTP environment. We also have a number of HR, support, and visitor solutions that are available as accelerators to our company solutions, as well as over 100 of our applications. So what is Maestro? You've heard me mention it a couple of times. For those that have followed the Break story in the past, the solution from a Bluestonex point of view that we have provided to Breaks has been our Maestro product. Maestro is a fully configurable master data and process automation solution, which helps a business to manage their rules and workflows. It enables businesses not only to create, but also to maintain, edit, and consume reliable data. It's process driven, so it's nice and easy. It's delivered with a range of pre-configured content. So when we ship that product, we have templates which accelerate your journey and your ability to onboard this product into your business. It removes manual processes, forms, and improves data quality and governance as well. So a really powerful tool, as you can see on the right side, just an example of the user interface that our customers engage with as well. So we utilize BTP UI5 to render the Maestro product using the BTP technology there. So Maestro, it's now used for governing process automation within BTP. So we use SAP build and process automation, including docs for document extraction. And then following automation elements are also available around supply chain, so sales order automation, purchase order automation, and invoice automation as well. So we've kind of taken our original kind of product set and put that automation aspect into it as well. So we, when speaking with the team at SAP, setting up this call, we wanted to engage with the audience that are listening here today. We've actually got, I think, quite a number, over 60 people on the call just now. We're going to hear from Ricky in just a second around his process automation journey for brakes, but we'd also like to hear from those who are on the call. So this question will be posted for you to comment about your own experiences and what you would like to see as a process in your ERP system that you would either like to simplify, improve, govern, automate, speed up. So as we're kind of going through, we'll come back to this question at the end and we'll maybe go through some of the answers there as well. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Ricky. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Hi there, I'm Ricky Sercombe. I work for Cisco GB, and this is a journey from a brakes perspective. Brakes is part of the Cisco GB group, which in turn is part of the worldwide Cisco group. Brakes is a food distribution company. We deliver to catering outlets, so schools, hospitals, hotels, restaurants, independent and large-scale catering suppliers. We operate out of over 20 warehouses across the UK. We've got staff over 6,500 employees. And we were looking in early 2022 to bring benefits into our operations. We was looking to do two major benefits. The first one we was looking to do was to improve our operations within the warehouse. And this was to introduce mobile technology within the warehouse to carry out warehouse functionalities such as goods receipt, put away, replenishment, physical operations within the warehouse. The second part we was looking to do was to improve our SAP processing. So this was to replace a lot of manual user interactions directly within SAP into a simple, user-friendly front-end user interface that could automate a lot of these transactions that are done in the background. We run SAP ECC6 and have done for a number of years. We don't have any BTP platform within Cisco GB, and we have very limited experience of Cisco of BTP. So that's where we reached out to Bluestonex to come up with a solution or solutions to deliver these benefits into the business. The environments that were built and ultimately delivered our projects was Bluestonex provided a SaaS solution, a SAP BTP environment hosted in their cloud space that connected to Brakes' ECC6 using a cloud connector, and it used SAP gateway functionality to have that connection. That was the basis of the environment that we used to deliver the solution. If we go to the next slide, please, Richard. Okay, so we started a project in early to middle of 2022, and we went through a what I would class as a standard project delivery with Bluestonex, but it was excellently observed. From the get-go, from the explore period, we had very good working relationships with Bluestonex. They were coming to our sites, they were observing our business, they understood what we was trying to deliver very, very early on. And they were able to play that back to us very, very early on, both document and in prototypes. They worked, as I say, on days. They came to see our days operation, they came onto our nights operation, and they understood our requirements, which gave us great confidence when we got into the scope of the requirements, that we could come to a very clear understanding that both Brakes as a business and Bluestonex could align on very, very simply. Go on to the next slide, please, Richard. Once we defined the scope, Bluestonex were able to play that back to us very, very clearly. So they used various tools to demonstrate this to Brakes. It could be email, it could be using webinars, workshops, whatever tool they was best to play this back to us. That's what they did. And the end result was, if you go on to the next slide, please, Richard. On the next result was that we was able to get prototypes of the two solutions that we were looking to deliver very, very quickly. So the first one was delivered via Maestro, which Richard mentioned earlier on. So this was to automate our processing steps. This involved having a user interface via a web browser, which connected to Bluestonex's BTP environment, which in turn connected to a Maestro programs that sat and sit on our ECC6 environment. They are standalone programs, so they don't interact directly. Well, they interact directly with our programs using OData services, but there's no complexity in that deployment on our ECC. The second solution was for the mobile technology within our warehouse. This was delivered using a Fury client on devices that connected to Bluestonex BTP environment, and likewise again connect through to our SAP ECC6 environment via gateway services. Once we defined the requirements with Bluestonex, they were very, very quick to turn around prototypes. If we go to the next slide, please, Richard. And what this gave us was a real good look and feel for the solution that we were going to get delivered, that we was able to play back to our operational colleagues, our stakeholders, our leaders, so that everybody could see what we was going to get, how we were going to get it, and how it was going to operate for the warehouse. This allowed us to make some very, very simple changes that we required very quickly. We found that amendments within BTP were turned around within hours rather than days, and it was a very seamless process from the start where we had a prototype to where we got an agreed working solution that the whole of Brakes and the whole of Brakes project team were happy with. The prototypes again were sized and scaled to work on our device. We use Zebra devices in our warehouse, so again we could get the look and feel for users very quickly in this way. Go on to the next slide, please. Again, for the second part of processing, this was the automation process of SAP transactions. This again was delivered very quickly. We had a prototype. We could see this on screen on PCs within a couple of weeks, again to demonstrate to users what was coming, how it would look, again to get the look and feel. One of the key things that we had from our perspective was that it was user friendly and it worked for operators within our business. On to the next slide, please. In terms of delivery, from my perspective, it was a very quick delivery of projects within our business. We started in June 2022. By September, October, we'd defined the solution, scoped it, delivered it, used the prototypes, and we delivered our first site of mobile technology into a warehouse in November 22. That was a 5-month period. We had a 2-month pause before we rolled it out, due mainly to the Christmas period. But from January through to March, we rolled it out across the whole of the Brakes estate. So that was a 9-month delivery of the mobile technology into our business. For the automation process, we started that in September. Again, we was delivered our first site in early January. That went in very, very well, and we again rolled that out across February and March. So overall, to deliver both projects across double-digit sites across the UK, it took us about 9 months from the start to the finish. To next week. And the outcomes for Brakes were excellent as far as I can see. From the mobile technology. It was adopted into our warehouses very quickly. It gave us real-time visibility of our activities within our warehouse rather than the previous where there was delays. There was reduction in manual processing, and it made our processes much cleaner and much tighter. It was one single way of receiving goods in, one single way of carrying out replenishments. There was a reduction in keystrokes. It was much easier for users to use the new solution. As I say, it was a very clean and simple front end that they had on their devices. So it was very simple for people to use. Okay, on to the next slide. And the feedback from our colleagues was very, very positive. There's a few comments here that are popping up on the right hand side. I'll pick out a couple of them. It's naturally intuitive. Training was a doddle because we delivered a very simple and clean user solution. New starters could come into the business very quickly and start working with it with very little instruction. It's very similar to if you give somebody a mobile phone, they can use it very quickly. They can use an application straight away. This is how we found with the solutions provided by Bluestonex. And the second one, it makes life so much easier when system and physical stock positions are perfectly in line. This was something that we had wanted for a long time within Brakes, to have true visibility of our stock position at any point on the system. It allows our supply chain to have exact position. It allows our sales to have exact position of our stock position. So as I said earlier on, we rolled this out across 10 sites for mobile applications within 5 months, and 12 sites of the process automation again within 5 months. In terms of both projects, they are now in a status of complete within our business. Okay, and on to the next slide, please. And lesson learned. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Going on to the lessons learned. These are all mainly they're all positive, and these are all really testament to the job that Bluestonex did for Brakes on this one. The pace of the project was very quick. To deliver such a project in such a short time frame was really, really pleasing. We had great collaboration between Brakes and Bluestonex. It was just a very seamless project. Great communication, formal, informal. There was no bars between the two companies. It was pick up phone, email, whatever worked better. And in terms of Bluestonex working with our third-party supplier, so our SAP environment is supported by a third-party supplier. There was really seamless knowledge transfer from Bluestonex to that third party, and likewise transition to support again from Bluestonex to the third-party supplier. So yeah, overall it was a very good project for Brakes. It was very quick, it was very clean, and the functionality provided by both Bluestonex and utilising SAP BTP has been a great benefit to our business. I think next there's going to be a video to demonstrate the process automation.
In this video, I'm going to show you a scaled back version of the logistics outbound process, and basically a good example of every type of process step we can have, whether it be a report, a program execution, or a manual governance step. Hello, so we're going to create an automation request now using a predefined template, Bluestonex automation template. So it's template UX. I'm going to select that and just enter a free text description. Okay. As I hit my create request, that's going away to look at the Maestro configuration that's sat on the ERP application server. You can see here we have a successfully created request, number 944. So I'm now going to navigate automatically to my processing dashboard, where we can see we have a process that has been laid out here. So we've naturally, via the config, divided the process into 4 processing groups. This is fully configurable, can be done into as few or as many groups as you wish. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to select group 1. Okay, and you can see within this group I have 4 process steps listed down the left hand side here. I also have a status view here where I can immediately get a quick visual to see exactly what situation the process is in. You notice the step 100 I have here has a blue play icon there, which means that step is actually ready to process. These subsequent steps are grayed out, and that's again due to the dependency set in the Maestro configuration. I'm going to select my first step, which is to create a stock transport order. Again, pre-configured, I'm telling it that I'm going to call this transaction and I'm going to call this selection variant. We could have as many selection variants as we wish defined here, and it will just automatically loop one after the other. As I hit run task, I get a background job submitted in ERP, which we're going to let execute away. We'll get an auto refresh after 10 seconds on this screen, which I will allow it to run and do. So there's our execution, and you can see step 100 comes back as process complete. Step 200 and subsequently step 300, which were dependent on this step being executed, have now become available for execution. If I select step 200, okay, we can see this one is actually a report step. So not only can we execute transactions, we can actually render the report display here in the UI. So I'm going to select the display, and you can see it's a very limited data set, but you can see that we have data returned there. We also have some options here in the settings to determine what we wish to display in the report. I'm just going to leave that there, and also we can download automatically to Excel from here if we so wish. I'm going to cancel that one. Okay, and on to step 300. So the purposes of this step, again, I'm executing a report, but you see here I have the option to ignore the task, okay, which I'm going to select in this case as I've just executed a report up here. So I'll ignore the task, tells me it's completed there, and subsequently open step 400 ready for processing. So I'm going to as an auto refresh, I'm just going to run this task, and again I'm going to allow the auto refresh after 10 seconds to kick in. There we are. So we can see now we've got our nice green ticks to say the process steps have been completed, and we can see that on this group 1, we've got 100% completion there. So I'll select group 2. Okay, again, here is a process step we have. It's a governance step. So if I select that, we can, again, via the configuration, we can allow or force the user to answer a question to say, are we at a certain point in the process? If they say yes, and we confirm that task, you'll see, again, due to the dependencies, we have the option that we have the opening up for the execution of these tasks. Can't really go wrong. It's if you can click an arrow, you can run this automation process. A couple more things I wanted to just demonstrate. If I move across to group 4 and I scroll down, we can see not only can we execute a single transaction at a time off a process step, we can execute one after the other. Now these transactions will be executed sequentially. I'm going to execute it. I expect this one to pass and I expect this one to fail, just to show you that the failure management is in there. If I run the task again, there's my program initiated. I'm going to give it a count of 10 seconds for my auto refresh to kick in. There we go. And as we see, the process step has failed, so you get a good visual to tell you. I'm going to select that, and we can see at which stage we've got the failure as well. Okay, so our process status there is a success. Here we have got a red cross, and if we select that, we can see the information or the error message coming back from the executed program in the back end, in this case ECC. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to go back to group 1 just to show you that as well as a failure step, we also can capture data direct from the program from the successful status. If I select the success, we can see here that we have a purchase order number created, which is nicely captured. Okay, thank you for watching. Any questions, please come and see us at the Bluestonex stand. We'll be more than happy to run through.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much, Ricky, for going through your experience with the project, and the fact it's now live and you're getting value out of it, I think is testament to it. Hopefully that video was of use to those that are watching the live stream. We did ask this question earlier. Do you have a process in your ERP system that you would like to simplify, improve, govern, automate, or speed up? I don't know whether we've had anything in any of the messages, etc. Tania?
No.
Okay.
Currently, we don't have any suggestions or any comments with regards to anyone having a process they would like to change. But in case a company, but that's actually a question for Ricky. In case a company would have a process, and I can imagine most companies would have something they would like to change, improve, whatever. What would you advise? What should be the next steps, the first steps?
To be honest, I'd say speak to Bluestonex to explore what options they could give. If you've got a clear understanding of where your challenges are and what you'd like to resolve, I think having that initial conversation with them would be the very first step. And then I'd like to pass it off to Richard. I know how they dealt with it from our Breaks perspective, but perhaps you can explain where you'd go from that point.
Yeah, certainly. I think what is our niche area, shall we say, is our partnership with the App House, the human-centered design thinking about a problem that a company may have, or an area that they know that they want to improve, but maybe can't necessarily put a pin right in the right area. That's where we utilize the tools that Ricky kind of shared with everybody earlier, whether that be Lego Serious Play workshops or personas or whatever it may be. We work with companies to really narrow down exactly how we would tackle those problems. BTP is the technology that we use to attack some of these problems. And it's an incredibly powerful tool with multiple different services that we can tap into. But the crux of the matter is getting the right solution that's going to impact businesses, workers, and employees, etc. the right way.
Thank you so much, both to Ricky and Richard. And actually, you mentioned that BTP services were used. What services actually were involved in the solution in the end?
The perfect opportunity to pass over to Vic here. Vic.
Okay, yeah. So when we talk of BTP for this particular solution, we have just hosted the UI of all these solutions on BTP. So the services include the Launchpad service, which has been renamed to WorkZone Standard Edition. Then you have authentication services to authenticate the users, and some standard services which come anyway with BTP, like the connectivity services or any kind of cloud connectors which you need through the connectivity services you use it. So yeah, these were the services.
Great, thank you. And actually, we have a question here in the chat. What processes were automated in Cisco?
Okay, we automated what we class as our night processing. So this is from the point where our order capture is complete. So it automates the generation of picking, the request for remote stocks, the receipt of remote stocks, all the way through pick confirmation, goods issue, all the way through to the generation of our invoice for delivery to the customer. So it's a single UI front end that does our whole night processing that used to be multiple transactions and hundreds and hundreds of variants run each night individually.
Great, thank you. I hope that answered your question, Alexei. If you have any further questions, please write in the chat. So whereas Maestro is on ECC, what role did SAP BTP actually play?
Yeah, so in terms of BTP, again, the same thing which I told earlier, it is used to host the UI layer of Maestro. Now, what we do is through Cloud Connector, we hook into the ECC system. Now, one can ask why BTP, why not an on-premise solution for that? So the reason is probably the versions we have for ECC, where we cannot have latest greatest UI libraries for SAP UI5 or Fiori. So we gave the latest Fiori controls and everything so that we can have a better user experience for end users. When if you're just keying in everything from pen and paper, and you can just see all the process and the visibility of those processes where they are, probably that would be the best user experience which we could have given. So that's why the BTP. Plus we had some other requests as well. So these are not just two solutions. We have other applications as well, where we are using other services from BTP. So it was a perfect opportunity for BTP to come in and give the latest and greatest for Cisco.
Yeah, for those that are obviously not maybe as familiar with BTP, it's a selection of different services that are available, but multiple applications can utilize a share of a particular service. So in Break's circumstance, having multiple applications but sharing part of a BTP service as part of the build-up from a commercial structure is starts becoming better the more applications you kind of build on that. And we've got obviously ongoing conversations with what the future with Breaks and Cisco kind of look like for other areas of optimization, which again, they don't have to have the kind of same startup investment in the BTP services because they already are running them. So it's twofold from that kind of perspective, if that gives a little bit more context to that.
Thank you so much. And I have one final question. That is, there are different devices involved in the solution. And so did you face any challenges with the infrastructure due to that, and also from the SAP BTP perspective?
So if we do SAP BTP perspective, the the Bluestonex BTP environment already existed at the start of the project, so it was a case of getting the two boxes connected. That was relatively quick. That wasn't a real challenge. And I think I mentioned earlier, Bluestonex, they know their BTP environments. They know how to connect it to different versions of ECC6. So they were able to guide Breaks and our third-party supplier through that process relatively well. The solution can work on, I believe, any device. It was sized for the devices that we have. We have the handhelds that was shown before in the prototype. We use desktops. We use terminals on our forklift trucks. And I think it can go onto anything on a tablet, on a phone. They can do size it as you need it. The only challenge we actually had was physically getting the devices. We obviously wanted to cover all our depots, or so we had a large number of devices that we required, and to get those from suppliers in time was the only real challenge. 2022 was quite hard to get a lot of hardware into business on the scale that we required.
Thank you so much. We have one question. Did you, two questions. Did you use, maybe it's called, or Fiori development in BTP? How did you connect to the backend from BTP?
Yep.
And any URL to learn this?
Okay. Yeah, so all the Fiori developments were done on BTP. And as far as connection is concerned, the connectivity service on BTP is going via the cloud connector and connecting to the gateway system, which is hosted inside the network of Breaks Cisco. So that's how the connectivity happened. In terms of the links, probably I would have to take that back and I'll search for the link, and maybe I can share one of the tutorials which is already there on the SAP developer site.
Great, thank you. We will post it then in the comments area underneath this video. Yeah. And the next question is, if the customer uses the latest on-premise system, what advantages are there in using BTP and in build zone comparing to your Launchpad?
Yeah, so I would see it as why cloud versus why on-premise. If you go on-premise, you have to, just a simple example, you have to patch your systems regularly. So it's another kind of a project at the end of the year. I've seen many customers doing it. So all the resources go into that. Instead of doing the patching and kind of a headache for you to keep your systems updated, if you have something which is already updated, latest in the cloud, why won't you try and hook into those systems? So in that way, you're just getting rid of one kind of a manual activity every end of the year, and you're using the latest and greatest every time. So that could be one of the advantages of using BTP services as compared to the on-premise.
From a slightly different perspective, I would also add that for those that are maybe on the latest on-premise version, we're still encouraged by SAP, even if that's where you are going to stay. You may be considering S/4HANA journeys, potentially RISE, etc. But whatever the story that you have, you're encouraged to keep that core clean for exactly the reason that Vic has kind of elaborated on around the updates, etc., and the innovation. BTP is the area to do it. BTP is, as Vic says, that it's constantly updated with the latest and greatest stuff. For Ricky and his team, if they wanted to maybe change a little bit of that process, the ease in order to do that on BTP without affecting their ERP estate, it's there. So they can do that. They can add new technologies. They could start looking into AI, which we've got solutions for as well. They could change the handheld devices, and the APIs would potentially work in a very similar fashion. So there's a lot of advantages in keeping it in this kind of nice, neat package over here in the BTP world.
Thank you so much. Then we have another question. How do you authenticate the user from the mobile/BTP app via BTP to SAP ECC system?
Okay, so two things here. First, to go into the SAP BTP application, we have the Cloud Identity Service. We are using it. So all the user store, we have a user store in the identity tenant where all the users are created. So that's the first gatekeeper. Second one, when you are into application and you want to get data from SAP systems, we have the SAP principal propagation kicking in. So the application when tries to reach to the cloud connector and to the ECC system, then the logged in user's username, which is the SAP username, goes into it, and all the principal propagation technicality happens, gets back the data when it's authenticated. If it is not authenticated, obviously it's unauthorized, so the unauthorized users won't be able to see the data.
I trust that answers your question, Tick. And so we're actually already almost 15 minutes of our 30 minutes. If there are no questions in the chat, I would like to invite you to contact us anytime if any questions come up. Feel free also to use the comments area underneath this video. I will also upload in the next days the presentation. You will find the link also underneath the video. And with this, I would like to thank Ricky so much for sharing all your experience and your project. And of course, big thanks also to Richard and Vikash for joining and sharing all your expertise here. And of course, last but not least, a big thanks to all our attendees for joining, for staying this long. And I hope to see you again next week for our next session on SAP BTP use cases.
Thank you
Have a
very
great day,
much.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.